Hi, this is JP Morgan. Hi, this is JP Morgan. This is JP Morgan. Today on the Slanted Lens, we're here in New York City. We're out on location at the Ultimate Graveyard. We're down here in Hollywood. JP, how are you? Good. We're now going to talk about how light creates separation. We're going to take some fabulous vintage Hollywood portraits. Quick tip about the nuts and bolts of video photography. I'm going to take a fancy portrait of a girl with fire in her hands and there's little grove of trees behind her. I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille. This ought to be really easy.
You're flapping your jaw just a little bit too much.
You should subscribe to the Slanted Lens. It may not save your life, but why risk it? That was perfect.
I think that was a better introduction than I could have ever done. But hey, everybody, welcome to On Your Guard, episode 10. I'm here with photographer and DP JP Morgan. He's also a pretty handsome and awesome all-around guy. With over 2 decades, with over 2 decades of experience in commercial photography, his studio is known for this signature style that pushes the limits of reality and photographic technique. He's won national and international acclaim and caters to a laundry list of major clients. JP, thanks for joining us.
You're very welcome. It's great to be here.
So, I mean, we have a lot to cover today. I want to get into like everything, and we have limited time. So let's just dive right in. What's your backstory? Like, where did you come from?
You know, I raised in Idaho, a little town, knew I didn't want to live in Idaho the rest of my life, came to Los Angeles, went to Art Center College of Design. I graduated in photography.
Okay.
Started a huge kind of large set production, still photography all through the 90s. We spend $80,000 sometimes for a single still image.
Oh, that's crazy.
And they were large sets and all before Photoshop, so everything had to be built and suspended and rigged and put into place. And then in that process, people started going, man, this is such big stuff. Why don't you do a commercial for us on this? So I started shooting commercials as well. And so just very much a background in still photography and directing commercials, now directing and also DPing. So I love the process. I love the journey. It's just a great experience. The creative life has been my life for my entire life.
That's
there you
awesome.
go.
That's awesome. You do so much. I mean, me and Jared were going through your photos on your website, like back, your older stuff to the current stuff that you're doing, and it's just mind blowing. Like the production that goes into each and every one of your staged photographs, and it's just I want to get into that. First, let's talk about YouTube. I mean, you have right around 250,000 subscribers on YouTube, and you're just making a huge impact over there. You have a devout following. Like, how did that start? What inspired you to do a YouTube thing?
You know, it started because an art director friend of mine said, hey, you do such interesting stuff. Why don't you do a behind the scenes video? Get it up on YouTube, get it out on Vimeo, get it out there and just let people see it, because it'll be easier for you to get people to hire you. So they see how you work. And so I thought, well, that sounds fun. So I had somebody shoot a BTS. I mean, we do video. I mean, was very easy for us to do. And we put it up, and, it had like 5,000 to 8,000 views within the first couple of weeks. And we're going, this seems kind of interesting. And so I started kind of researching and figuring out what to do, and said, let's start a channel. And so after we'd put up 2 or 3, we started the Slanted Lens. The Slanted Lens I did a book forever ago, which you can buy for about 87 cents on Amazon.
Let's get a link to that up in the comments.
That's right. So, for those of you who are really cost conscious, this is a great buy for you. It's called The Slanted Lens. And I just always thought it was funny, the Slanted Lens, just weird stuff going on. And so we started the YouTube channel, The Slanted Lens. I've got a bit of a weird sense of humor. I like doing campy, funny stuff, And so that was kind of our direction with this thing. We want to show what we do. It really is, the Slanted Lens really is my life.
Awesome.
I mean, I don't sit around and go, okay, what's the next great topic we should do? I'm going, no, today I'm driving out to shoot some corporate portraits. And so the next topic that's going to come up in Slanted Lens is 3 looks for a corporate portrait in 30 minutes, because that's what I've got with the guy, 30 minutes. And I'm going to shoot black, white, and an environmental portrait in 30 minutes.
Awesome.
And so that's going to be the lesson. So that it's kind of my journey. The reality, it is kind of my journey.
Yeah. Now you kind of answered some of the questions that I wanted to get into. Like, you guys are creating just awesome quality content on such a consistent basis. How often are you posting to your channel? Do you have
We post twice a week.
Okay, twice a week.
Post on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 a.m.
Awesome. So, I mean, that was my biggest question was, I mean, I've been one of those people, I already do way too much, but it was like, oh, I would love to do a YouTube channel. But then it's just like, well, I'm, adding that into the mix, and it's just me. It sounds like you have some great help over there. It's just not something that I've been able to dedicate the time towards. And you guys do it so well. How, like, you kind of answered, you're kind of just living it. You're doing it and you're creating content while you're out and on the job. How much?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, how much of a backlog do you guys usually keep, or are you kind of just flying by the wire?
I'd love to say we're organized all the way out to the rest of the year or something, but if we're out by 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, it's probably pretty good for us. But we'll identify topics that we think are interesting, cameras that come out we want to talk about. So there is some. It isn't just my life and the things we shoot, but there are other things we're identifying, what are going to be current cameras that are going to come out. I'll get into a series, like I started a series that I've been taught at Art Center called the Laws of Light, which are just the basics of how to light and how to understand and see light and to make it a part of your journey. So I've done now several episodes of that. I try to do one a month. The one we go out to shoot later this afternoon after the corporate portrait is shooting inside of a cube. The very first one was shooting a cube and each of the surfaces. Now we're going to shoot a room and just show how those principles. So I love that journey. I love light. That's what my life has been about from the creative life continually is lighting. And so we do a lot on the Slanted Lens about lighting. So I'm always looking for interesting things to talk about with regards to light.
Right.
So we'll sit down in a meeting and we'll say, here's a list of 10 or 15 topics, and we'll try to plug them into our schedule and be out by 2 weeks to a month. I have a lot of support because I've got a part-time person who just posts and keeps everything up on the channel.
Yep.
And then I've got a full-time editor here.
Awesome.
That just keeps us, but that's not just for the Slanted Lens, it's everything else we're doing. So.
Yeah. I'm going to interrupt you 1 second. Today's giveaway, we are actually giving away a full tripod kit, an Alta Pro 2 Plus AB100, so you get the legs and you get a ball head. It's a great tripod. It's got the multi-function center column, so you can shoot low. It's really one of our top-of-the-line tripods. You're going to enjoy that a lot. All you got to do is drop us a comment, ask us a question, and we're going to give this away by the end of the live session. So, yeah, drop a comment to win.
Speaking of comments, Steve wants to know, what is the goal of your YouTube channel? Is it for fun or is it to make a living? If it's for money, how many subscribers do you need before you start seeing revenue outpace costs? Sorry.
That's a great question because, in the beginning it just started out as something to do, just to show what we do. But now it's a revenue source. It certainly is. I mean, we have sponsors. We have YouTube. We get paid from, clicks on YouTube. You don't make a fortune doing clicks on YouTube. I mean, even as much as we have 500,000, views a month or more. And we're still, we're not breaking $1,000 a month in revenue from YouTube. It's probably more like $700 or $800 a month.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a nice foundational amount of money, but it's not gonna change the world. So I think it's more about getting sponsorships if you're doing it for a financial return and getting people to be involved with you, and also selling downloads and things. So we'll do, we've got all of our content, and on there we also have downloads. Like our stop motion is one of our favorite downloads. You teach stop motion, you get a lot of great stop motion content on the channel, but at our web page, theslanteddlens.com, go to our store and you can buy a complete 3-hour guide to doing stop motion that is absolutely amazing. So we have other things like our business class, teaching people how to do business, which I love to do. So that's really that's the journey for YouTube. But YouTube, if you are not consistent on YouTube, if you're not posting every Thursday, I started out every Thursday, every second and fourth Thursday, so twice a month. Then I went to every Thursday. Now I've gone to every Tuesday and Thursday. So consistency is the key to YouTube.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great information. I think, if there's anybody out there that is interested in starting a YouTube channel, this is information that isn't just readily available for people, so I appreciate you offering that up. I guess one of the questions I had for you, you have such a charismatic and unique personality, and I think you kind of already answered this, so maybe a little bit of a redundancy, but how much of the Slanted Lens on YouTube is you versus maybe like a caricature, like played up a little bit?
It really is me. What you see on YouTube is kind of me. It's a little amplified, but yeah. It's in fact, a lot of times I'm having to go, okay, let's pull this back a little bit and get too out there. When I did the Edward C-stand hands, which was a segment on C-stands, and it was just a little weird. And I started to get I make sponsors nervous sometimes. That's the balance. I'm going, well, hey, but this is what people respond to. This is what I love to do. But it's not really a character. It's just my wacky personality. You see it in my photography. You see in my early photography. You see it kind of in the YouTube channel. So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that because I feel like authenticity is a big part of your success and anybody's success in social media. People want people that are authentic, and I feel like that really comes across. So kudos on that. Another kind of weird question. Do you feel any pressure? So you're such an authority on photography. I mean, you have all these followers. Do you feel any pressure, like that you maybe, I don't know, just pushback from people? Maybe if you don't have an opinion that they agree with, do you care? How do you deal with stuff like that?
Well, that's interesting. It's a good question because you'll get stuff up like I put a C-stand thing out about C-stands, and a whole industry said the way you're doing is dumb. It's backwards. It's not right. It's and I finally did a second video going, here's why I do it the way I do. Mm-hmm. And, but yeah, you feel there's a sense you get a lot of comments, man. Sometimes you have to just kind of answer them and smile and move on. I've kind of learned not to take them too serious. And you know what's fascinating about YouTube and about the experience and about photography or videography in general is that there's no really one right path. There's a lot of people trying to make their way and make good content and deliver to their clients. And those journeys can be very different. What may be in one person's eyes the only way to do something is not, there's no such thing as the only way to do something. It's a very, very vast and very multiple roads get you to a lot of times the same places.
Yeah, no, that's really well said. I like to look at, basically everything in the world. There's no real true black and white. There's so many shades of gray, and everybody's going to find a different way to do things. So
somebody's always going to be complaining.
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. Let's take a step back from YouTube and talk a little bit more about you as a photographer. You do so much, and it seems like you have all these huge productions that's your work, and you love it, I'm sure. Do you have personal work? Do you have anything that's just for you?
It's fascinating. I've been asked this question many, many times, and my response to it is always the same. This is my personal work. This is my life. This is what I love to do. I remember one time my wife said, what do you want to do for your birthday? And I said, let's just do a really cool photograph where we'll get a lot of like these props and these kind of cool things. And I lined us out, and she goes, we do that every day. That's what's cool. That's what's fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, that's a great question.
I don't have a place. I feel very comfortable going where I want to go on the channel, on my website, as far as what I photograph. If I were to say if I could get paid only to do one thing in photography and I had to choose only one thing, I would probably do vintage setups of vintage times. I love that. I've got a bunch of that on our website. I just love shooting, different time periods and creating these sets and people and wardrobe. I love that. As a director, to do a feature, my goal is to do something that's going to be a time period piece. I just love that kind of recreating what's happened in the past.
Yeah, that's cool. I feel like, I mean, there's a lot that goes into that stuff, even beyond, you know, you talked about being, you know, so into light and lighting and everything. Beyond that, I mean, creating sets, that's got to be a huge undertaking.
It's so much to put together. I mean, it really is. I mean, very complicated process.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about how you developed your style. We went a little bit into your backstory, and, you know, you talked about how you kind of came to do these sorts of just crazy setups. How did that develop over time?
You know, when I was at Arts and College Design, I was doing projects and shooting things there, and I loved Norman Rockwell. Mm-hmm. I was a big fan of Jim Wood and Reed Miles, two photographers that I thought just did incredible Norman Rockwell setups. Yep. And loved their work. In that process, though, I fell in love with Gary Larson of The Far Side. So I started to read the Far Side cartoons. Mm-hmm. And so even at Art Center, I started building these big sets. I built this 2-story set as a student at Art Center with a rock band downstairs and a lady upstairs, and they're playing, the rock band's playing and exploding her apartment upstairs, and all still photographed. Took me like 3 weeks to do the shot, and I built it myself, a little bit of help from friends, and lit it and shot it. And it started to become a mix of Norman Rockwell meets The Far Side. You know, it's a pogo-sticking cow. It's a herd of stampeding pogo-sticking cows. You know, it's just a lot of that kind of, that's where it all came from. So I shot a lot of Rockwell stuff. Interestingly enough, in my journey, after I left Art Center, I started to compete with Jim Wood and Reed Miles on a pretty regular basis. Wow. Which was, to me, the first time I got an estimate, said, well, and I asked, well, who are the other photographers estimating on this? Well, Jim Wood and Reed Miles are estimating on this. I like going, I think I made it. The journey is here, you know. I don't know. It was a great day. And then I served on the APA board with Jim Wood. I think he's a really creative and an interesting man. I had some associated with Reed Miles, but was a very colorful character till he passed away. So I don't know. It's been a great journey, but it really has become that kind of. And I say this too about this journey. For me, I love to build. In high school, I tore my mom's kitchen apart and rebuilt all of her cabinets in shop class. You know, and so I just love to build. So Norman Rockwell meets The Far Side. I love to build. So it became the set solution to crazy problems, visual problems in that kind of Norman Rockwell meets The Far Side world. So it's kind of a combination of who I am and you know, what my background was.
That's really cool.
JP, we have one commenter. Bailey wants to know, at this point in your career, would you switch camera systems, or are you too dedicated?
When you say switch camera systems, what's interesting to me is I'm kind of switching camera systems all the time. As a DP, you work on a lot of different camera systems, whether it's the Red or, you know, you're shooting on C300s or you're on the Alexa, you know, so I'm really, what's interesting about the difference between a still photographer versus a DP is as a DP, you really need to be pretty comfortable with a lot of different camera systems and how to use them. As a still photographer, you kind of commit yourself. I'm a Canon person, I'm a Nikon person, I'm a Sony person. I have Canon cameras, I have Sony cameras, I have 3 Sony cameras and 3 Canon cameras. That's just still cameras. So I'm shooting a lot of different formats, but my kind of the one that I'm the most comfortable on, I love, is our Canon cameras. They're just although I shoot so much on the Sonys these days, I love the Sonys too. So it's pretty hard for me to say that I'm even with one system anymore.
Right.
I'm probably going to buy a C200 just because it's a great run and gun video camera. You know, it's great for documentaries. I have a documentary I'm hoping to shoot later this year. Mm-hmm. And so.
No, it's cool. That's a great answer. I feel like you know the right tool for the job, and brand is kind of doesn't really matter at that point.
It doesn't, but that's a very high approach. Most people who are making money doing still photography will buy a camera system and stick with it. I have a Hasselblad, a Cinar 4x5 view camera, and a Nikon sitting on my in my office on a shelf there. Those are the 3 cameras that made most of my money until almost the year 2000. Mm-hmm. So for almost 15, 20 years, I used those 3 cameras exclusively. And so I would, at that point, if you had said, well, do you want to switch to an RB, you know, or a Pentax or something, I go, "Are you crazy? I couldn't do it." Because that's my world was just as a still photographer, you make those kinds of commitments.
Right.
As a still photographer, I wouldn't change my cameras very often, and I'll tell you why. Make money with what you've got as long as you can. The industry is always going to tell you need a new camera, you need a new everything, but the reality is don't start spending a significant portion of your money just getting cameras every year. Get a camera system, stick with the system, make money with that system, and make it yield for you, and only make calculated moves to move up, and that financially will be a much better path for you.
That's fantastic advice. That's awesome. Well, let's talk. You talked about like your love of set building. Let's talk about just your a pre-production for a commercial shoot. When how early do you start? What all goes into it? Like what all things are you thinking about? It's interesting to me how many, because I'm a less is more kind of photographer. I like to be able to carry what I'm going to use into where I'm shooting and leave just as easily. So it always interests me the amount of just work and thinking and preparation that goes into these big shoots.
It's very much a pre-production process. Now, I could never have been as successful as I have been if it wasn't for my wife. She and I have worked together 24/7 for all these years and years. She does production. She does styling. We're kind of a two-person team in that way. I mean, we hire a lot of other people to help us. Don't get me wrong, we do. But so we'll sit down and we'll break a shot down. Okay, these are set things we need. These are props that we need. These are the gags or the special effects we're going to need. And then we start just putting things together. We meet every night. I mean, last night we were working until 11 o'clock for the commercial we have coming up. So we're going, okay, who's freezing the flashlight in a block of ice? And we'll lock on that. I already got 2 in the freezer. So it's just, and so we keep reviewing it every day. Okay, let's go through it again. Where's this at? We got this, we got that. It's a process. It's exhausting sometimes, and the amount of things it takes, especially for a commercial, because a commercial is like 10 to 12 and sometimes more, 15 to 20 still setups.
Right.
So on this one we've got to have this and this prop and this wardrobe. So it's like doing 10 to 20 still images for one commercial. It's going to run like an internet commercial for 2 minutes. So it's all about, we go to prop houses, dig around the prop houses, find the things we need. Jolene Amazon's a ton of stuff. Comes rolling in like sometimes like 30, 40, 50 boxes.
Wow.
Of stuff. And then the things we don't use, we ship back.
Right.
And it's a very intensive process to get everything together.
It sounds like it. We have another question.
Yeah, Kyle wants to know, what has been your favorite photo shoot over the years, or which one stands out to you the most?
There's several of them that I did one time a tiger in a bathtub, which that was just a fabulous shoot. I enjoyed it just for several reasons. I mean, we had made this bathroom and the bathtub, and we wanted to get this tiger in this bathtub, and the trainer couldn't get the tiger in. And so I'm going, he pulled the tiger in, and all I see is the tiger's supposed to be in the bathtub. And I see the front legs in the rear end's facing me. I'm going, that's not a tiger in the bathtub, that's the butt of a tiger. It's like, I go, push that thing in the bathtub. And he goes, well, you push it in the bathtub if you want him in there. I go, well, I'm not going to push that thing in there. Bite my head on. So we couldn't get it in, so we grabbed another tiger. We had 2 of them there, another one in a cage, and he had told me, don't get too close to the back of the tiger. So I'm pushing the cage, the tiger backs up to me, flips his tail up, and then it just pees all over me. I was livid, because I'm going, great, you can't get the tiger in the bathtub for me. The thing just peed all over me. And he goes, we'll get in there this morning. We finally cut a hole in the back of the set, in the wall, and brought it in from behind. The tiger never was in the bathtub, just the front half of it was. But so those kinds of experiences, and at the end of the day, you're going, that was exhausting, but the image is so satisfying that it just makes the journey worth the experience. So
right.
I love that kind of setup and shoot and execute images. That's the kind of stuff I loved.
That's awesome. I know there's probably a ton of post and retouching that goes into your work. Do you do a lot of that? I know I saw on your website your wife does retouching, right?
Yes, Jolene is master retoucher. She retouches for Fox and for Sony and a lot of celebrities. I mean, that's what she does. Mm-hmm. In between what we're doing, we all do it. That's the way creative industry is. Everyone does a little bit of everything. Does a lot of things, So she does most of that. I'm not near at her level. I enjoy the NYX collection. I find that fast and easy to use,
Yep.
Layer and put things and do that. I've done a lot of that. I use Photoshop. I love Camera Raw. Get into Camera Raw. You can do so much in Camera Raw to be able to get things ready and layering. I don't know. I just love Camera Raw. So, but mostly Jolene does our final retouching on everything. I try not to make her have to do any more than she has to. I try to get as much of it in the camera as possible.
Right. No, that's always a good. What part of the process, if you had to pick one part of your entire process that you absolutely love the most, what would it be?
I think it has to be the lighting at the very end. You really light the thing and it comes to life. I think that's what I love. I think that becomes kind of the moment when I see the image start to really come together. I feel the light and I see it everything that we've done has finally come together. It's all at one point and the light is right, and that's just the moment that's magical for me.
That's awesome. All right, I'm going to interrupt you one more time. Again, for everybody who missed it, we are giving away an Alta Pro 2 Plus 263 AB100 complete kit. This is an awesome tripod. You have 3 leg sections and fully articulating head for low shots. Just drop us a comment or ask us a question, and we're going to give one away.
This weekend.
This weekend, actually. We're going to give
we'll let some comments.
Okay, so we're going to give more people a chance to win, and so, yeah. Drop us a comment, and by the end of the weekend, we'll pick a winner. Great tripod. So
I love this tripod. Last night, I'm lending mine to my wife, who's going out to do a casting today, and she goes, "Oh, wow, this is nice. Can this be mine now?" Me?
We'll send you another one.
All right. She's going, "I want this tripod."
That's awesome. Yeah, well, okay, so let's jump back. I do have a couple more questions about YouTube. If, say there's a lot of people watching this right now and they want to get started on YouTube. I know you talked a lot about consistency, kind of defining, whether it's just something that you were doing kind of behind the scenes or whether you want to make an income stream out of it. Do you have any tips for, starting YouTubers to get going?
Yeah, I think, like I said, number one is consistency. Decide, and that consistency can be, it doesn't have to be every day or once a week. It can be once a month. Just as long as your audience begins to realize who you are. But also, I think it is so important that you have a personality on there, that you're not afraid to be who you are, and that people will respond to that. And don't read the comments and start changing who you are because of what people are saying. Just stick with who you are. Let that journey be your journey. Let that be your kind of exposure to the world. You don't have to know everything. It's so important. You don't have to feel like, okay, I'm an expert on everything. No, you don't have to be an expert because it can be about your journey, how you do things and how you get the images that you get and how you get to where you're going. So I think that's important to know. You don't have to know everything, but you just have to feel confident and comfortable with what you do. I mean, you can do a great YouTube channel on saying, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm doing here. Because so is everybody else.
Right.
And so I think it's pretty important to just be true to yourself and have an enjoyable time with it. I think people respond more to personality things, more like vlogging.
Right.
And when I started out, it was more voiceover and that. I started to do more vlog type things where I'm talking more on camera. They feel more of my personality, my journey, and I think that's been more successful. So that's just a few thoughts. Any other questions about that, or is that?
Do we have any other questions? I don't think so. I mean,
we did have one question from someone that was asking, any advice in terms of how to find your style or your niche.
Oh, I tell people all the time, and actually in my business coaching class, I've got a segment that talks about finding out who you are. And part of that segment is just a matter of looking at what is it that you love to do. I had a guy who worked for me who was trying to do photography and trying to make money and having a hard time. And one day I'm going, why don't you shoot bicycles? You ride every weekend. You love bicycles. He goes, well, I don't know. I've never really thought about it. I said, yeah, you start photographing bicycles. And when he turned his direction towards bicycles, which he loved, all of a sudden his work started to explode. So number one is, what do you love? What's your background? What's your personality? I mean, if you got a really outgoing personality and you love to be around people, then people photography is probably a great thing for you to do. If you can't stand people, if you want to be left alone, then you probably should do products. You should probably do something that It's going to be more calculated. I can't do products. I don't have a personality. I can't sit there, and noodle and poke at the thing for, 8 hours. It just drives me nuts. That's like torture for me. But there are people out there that love that.
Yeah.
They have an incredible sense of detail and patience, and they're willing to look and to work and to create these beautiful product images. So what's your personality, and how does that fit? What's available to you? If you're living in, Chalice, Idaho, a town of 750 people where I went through junior high, then trust me, you're not going to do product photography very easily, because there's just not a market there.
Yeah.
But you could do seniors. You could do weddings. You could do, it's really interesting the things you could do. I think there's great ways to make a living in photography. It's just you have to be a little more creative sometimes. I met a guy, and his name is Luis Mendez. Oh, I forgot his name here. Anyway, New York City. He makes a living walking around New York City with an old speed graphic taking Polaroid, 4x5 Polaroid pictures of people. He goes to different events like the game in town, and he'll stand out front and take pictures of people, charge them $20. I'm going, how do you make a living at $20 a pop doing portraits of people? He goes, I put 3 kids through college doing this.
Wow.
I mean, it's really fascinating. And he's fascinating. I had to take my portrait, and I'm going to try to do a lesson with him when I go back to New York here in October.
That'd be awesome.
So I just find it really fascinating that there are ways to make a living, but you've got to figure out, what do I love to do? What's my personality? What do I have access to? And then just start doing it. Make yourself shoot an image, once a week, so that you get in this groove of I'm always shooting. And then a style will start to develop.
That's awesome. We should have charged people for this advice, honestly.
Yeah. Well, join my business coaching class. It's really, we have a great community there. We're teaching people how to set up their businesses, how to figure out who they are, how to figure out how to move forward, and it's a great experience.
Where can we find more info about that?
Go to theslantlens.com. In our store is where you can sign up for the business coaching class.
We'll post a link.
Yeah, we're going to post the link in the comments. Theslantedlens.com. JP, thank you so much for being here with us today. Everybody go to YouTube and subscribe to The Slanted Lens right now to see more of this guy. Thanks a lot for joining us, JP.
You're very welcome. Thank you, you guys. You guys are fabulous. You make incredible equipment. It's been a great support to me for years, so thank you very much.
Well, that's an honor. Thank you.
That was so beautiful. Oh my God.
See you guys later.